All right, it's James in the Giant Economy. My name is James, and we're going to talk about this giant economy we're part of. All right, so in the first video, we went over what's the Fed going to do. Where do you pay? Where do you need to place your bets on that it's going to go into a recession, or is it going to go into a hyperinflation? What's going to happen, right? So I hope you placed your bets in that. And in this next one, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing and to position myself, and maybe I'll give you some ideas, and I'll also give you an opportunity if you'd like to join me. All right, so what did I do? First of all, I sold all of my assets that I had, one, loans on, right? Number two, that I had equity in. Okay, so those are mostly houses, right? That I was big in the housing sector, and I sold all my houses. There were some of them I didn't think I was going to sell. I thought I was going to hold on to a few of them, but turns out when my tiny little house in Texas that is 1,400 square feet goes up 40,000 in 2 months, I hit the sell button. All right, why is that? Well, it's simple. It's because you can't buy things with equity, right? Home equity is great. It's amazing. It is one of the reasons why you should invest in homes, and not just the one you live in, but buy a second rental property, a third or 15th, type thing. Um, the equity that goes into it, you can't pull that out all completely with a refi. You can get it to like 70 to 80% depending on your lender and what their rules are. Typically, they'll do about 70, 75%. But that last 25, 30%, it's still stuck in the ground, right? And granted, you can you can use it to loan off of as collateral and such, but you can't cash it in. Okay. And if I'm betting that housing is going to go down, we've hit the top, we're going to go down from here. I told myself this. I said, you know what? I'm going to sell my houses, majority of them, right? And in this case, all of them. Um, and I'll just buy them back 40 or 50% less in 2 or 3 years. I can always jump back into housing. There is no reason I can't. There's no law prohibiting saying, hey, you sold your houses, you were out of the game, you can't play anymore. No, 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 no. That's a great thing about the free market. I can buy as many houses, I can sell as many houses as I am financially able to do so, right? Uh, and so that's what I told myself. Hey, I can sell them now. I'll just, I'm going to pay the taxes. That's fine. These things happen, but you know what? If I'm right and they go down 30 to 50%, oh, I'm gonna be making a ton of money, right? Because I'm out of debt. I have this cash. I've actually shown for the last few years that I made a ton of money when I bought those houses. So now lenders will lend me more, so I can buy more houses, right? That's kind of how the game goes. Um, and then what happened is I got with this all this cash. I'm like, I don't really want to sit in the bank. That's a lot of cash. So I started looking for other areas, talking to my other investor friends, and got into instead of putting in the stock market, which I'm always like, let's put it this way, like I've just started to learn how to win in the stock market. Um, Before then, I was just losing tons of money. Like a lot of people won't tell you that; they'll only tell you their wins. But I was losing tons of money. Now I'm starting to get back into it and knowing, understanding how to be a trader, and it is very different from running a business. If you're a business guy and you struggle in the stock market, I completely understand why. Contact me, and I will tell you what I've learned about myself and why I struggled in the stock market as a business person. A hint is what you can fix and what you can't. Anyway, but moving on. So had all this cash. I said to myself, okay, I need to put it somewhere. Where can I put it that I can actually guard it and make money? Gold is nice, but I don't want to store that much bullion. Where can I put it? So I actually got into oil and gas mineral rights, and that was an amazing thing. It is recession proof, inflation resistant. Sorry, inflation proof, recession resistant. Sorry, I said that wrong. Inflation protected. Thank you. Recession resistant. So if we go into hyperinflation, if we go to recession, it still gives a good amount of value. Now that, but the fundamentals are all tight to where the oil market is tight. Like it's not going to go low for very long. If it does, it's going to be a rubber band that pops back up. Just give it a little bit of time. After doing this research, after going out talking with people, started to invest, and I'm making like 30 to 45% on my, depending on which track I bought and everything. It's amazing, right? So right now I'm heavily invested into oil and gas, both drilling and mineral rights. Um, and right now I'm a little cash shy right now because I've invested a ton into it. So what I'm doing currently, I'm holding, I am waiting for those investments to start to pay out, which they're doing amazingly. This month alone, I'm gonna do 5 figures, which is great. Um, and I'm gonna start holding that cash. Right, I've got some of the stock market, which I'm actually shorting stocks and making a good amount, or sometimes waiting till oil dips in and buying it and popping it up and selling. Doing some trading on that on some commodities, which is good. But I am my main 4 things that I am investing in right now is this: one, oil and gas commodities. They're doing amazing. Um, if this interests you, contact me. Might have a way where you can work out to where you invest as well. Number 2, I am investing in, I run an insurance agency. I'm a licensed property and casualty insurance agent in the state of Texas. And so I've recently had to start over my book of business, so I'm getting clients and everything like that, recruiting and everything. So I am investing in that. So oil and gas, my own business. The third thing is I am holding cash. They say cash is trash. There is a time when it will feel like that, but I am betting that we're going to go into a recession, and that's when cash is king, right? So when you're at the top of a market, you're right, cash is trash, but that's when you exchange it in for cash for when it comes back down and cash becomes king. Everything goes in cycles. Everything goes in cycles. So I am holding cash, right? Because I've got my assets put on. I've got a bunch of oil and gas, minerals. I've got some drilling rights, and I'm holding cash. And the last thing I'm investing in is actually myself, both my health, personal learning, all that good stuff to where you develop yourself. Those are the 4 areas that I'm in, because I believe in this next cycle, those are going to be some really, really good ones. Oil and gas is going to be good for the next, at least until our next president. At the least, I think for another 4 years. I think the next president is going to walk into something that's going to be hard to unwind. Secondly, insurance is always be there. It is always there. It is, and the insurance industry is amazing. If you want to take part into it, I have opportunities. Let me know. Contact me. But it is an amazing industry. I'm a big fan of these recession-resistant, inflation-proof ones, and it's both. Who do you know doesn't need insurance, right? I mean, there you go. It's going to have it, right? And this is not life insurance. It's not death insurance. It is just plain old home, auto, commercial, business, flood, all that good stuff that just keeps renewing as time goes on, and you just build a book, and it just gets great. Again, cash, so I can take opportunities of distressed assets in the future, and then myself, and that includes going on vacation. That includes, getting my ACL redone and stuff like that. So losing some weight, investing in myself in that. So that's where I'm at, and the reason I'm doing that is because I think that all this research I've done shows that oil and gas is going to be amazing. In any case, it's going to do great, right? If we go into hyperinflation, right? Well, what do you think is going to drive that? Energy is the economy. So if hyperinflation happens, if people start building a ton, buying a ton, moving about, going on vacation, like if the economy just blows up and everything goes great, right? And everybody's making more money, they're going to start spending more money, they're going to start using more oil and gas. It's simple. You need energy to get things done, right? Energy is the economy. Love that saying. Secondly, if we have a recession, right, oil is resistant, okay? In fact, high energy prices are typically what precedes a recession, okay? So I had 2 scenarios in the last video I gave you. One was we just hit a cliff and we dive down, okay? And hit a cliff, dive down, right? And like in the period of 3 to 6 months, everything's 50% off all of a sudden, okay? People are without jobs, everything. We also gave a second scenario of a salad bowl recession of it just goes down very, very slowly, 10 to 15% a year for 4 years, and then it levels out and then slowly comes up 10 or 15% a year type thing. Let's go over both those for the oil and gas case, right? If we hit a wall, and everything, and so much demand destruction is caused, right? So that oil drops to like $75 a barrel. Well, through my math and calculations, oil says that oil at 75 a barrel, gas is at 4. Through my calculations, I'm still making 10 to 13, maybe 15 or 20% on some of my tracks. So I'll say an average of I'm making 12 to 18%, right? Which in a recession is an amazing amount, right? Just think if you had $1 million into something, right? And in a recession, you're making like 150,000 a year passively in a recession. That's still a great investment. That's amazing. Or if you put 100,000 into it and you're making 15 grand a year in a recession, when people are like, I hope I don't lose my job, that's a great asset. That's amazing, right? The typical for investors, the typical bar is around 10%, depending on the risk ratio, right? If it's less risky, you could do 8. If it's more risky, you do like 12 to 15. It just depends on the risk and your tolerance for it, right? So having like 12 to 18%, man, that's great in a recession. That's amazing. Like you're doing better than most people out there. So that's number one, right? Everything gets hammered across the board. We're still doing well in comparison to everything else. All right. What happens if we get the salad bowl one, right? Well, that's the one that a lot of people that I'm in league with are thinking about and talking about, and are thinking is going to happen. And we've kind of structured some deals that way, if you will. If that happens, I'm gonna make bank. Like currently, in this, what I believe is the crest of the economy, I'm making between, on average, 30 to 45% per tract. Right, I've got like 9 or 10 of them. I gotta count how many I've got. So if I've got, we'll just use $1 million invested, on average, I'll probably be making about 35 to 40%. Okay, once they get going. So next year, if everything keeps the way it's going, I'll be making $300,000 to $400,000 a year. If I invested $1 million, right? I'm not gonna tell you how much I invested, but if I invest $1 million, we're going with that number, right? You make $300,000 or $400,000 a year. If the recession hits and oil just kind of hovers where it's at, right? Like I would love for oil to hover between $90 to $105 a barrel on average, right? Gas is between 5 to, it flirted with 10. I would say 5 to 8 per MCU. I'll be making, I'll be making about that much, if not more, that I said in my last example. If oil just sits there, and if that happens for a period of a few years, I'll make all my money back in 2 years. It's gonna be great. But if it just sits at like $85-$90 a barrel, I'll still be making around we're using the $1 million example, still we're making like 250,000-300,000. I'll make all my money back in 3 years. So I'll be making all of my money back very quickly, and I'll still hold the asset, right? Because if I put $1 million into something and I'm making 300 back, well, in 3 years I've made $900,000, right? I call that and I made majority of what I have, plus I still hold the asset, right? I have ownership of it. I get all my money back, 90%, I'm gonna say all the money back in the world of investing. And I've got that 900 to play with, and I've still got $1 million in assets. I go to a bank and I say, hey, I want a loan. They're gonna say, well, for the last 3 years, or two is what they really want, but 2 years, you made 200,000-300,000 just off this, plus all your other stuff. Yeah, and you have $1 million in collateral in your assets, or whatever. Hey, there you go, man. That's a perfect plan. So I'm gonna go to the banks, and then if other assets are distressed, then I'm gonna start buying them. Right? That's the plan I've got. Now, typically, what happens with oil, and I think this is what's gonna happen. Right? Is oil precedes a recession. Okay, high energy prices. I think through politics, through what the world's happening in the world, we are set to have see oil at $100 possibly before the end of the year. We'll see what happens. If not, we're probably going to see $125 barrel oil sometime again next year. It could go up to $150. All right. historically what happens with oil. I've done charts on this in the past. If you're interested in a comment, and I'll make another one. Um, Oil almost doubles itself, right? So in the last '08 recession, went up to between 150 to 180. It almost doubled itself, and that causes a recession. Oil stays high, right? So oil is high, it pushes everything down because the price of the pump is so much, everything goes up, okay? That causes tons of demand destruction across the board, and everything else goes down as oil stays up. At that time, I will probably sell quite a bit of my oil and gas investments, okay? Not all of them, but quite a bit. And because what's going to happen is everyone's going to be looking around and saying, hey, where can we put our money? You know, everything's down, and they're going to look at two things. They're going to look at treasury bills, and they're going to look at oil and gas, and they're going to invest there. And then once that happens, I'll sell it off, and I'll look for other distressed assets like property or something else, land, good stuff, and I'll start to buy there, right? And I'll buy them when they're depressed, and I'll sell my stuff when it's high. And I'll make all my money back and more, and then I'll hold it. And then what happens? Oil will about cut itself back in half, and then in 6 months it gains 25% of what it lost. So it rebounds really quickly. But that is my plan. If you are, I'm running out of time here. I want to get this late, but do me a favor. If you're interested in this, contact me. But I've got my information below. But what I really want to know is, what are you doing? What are you investing in? More importantly, what's your reasoning behind it? What's your plan for recession? Like and comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.